Happy Wednesday and greetings to the 12 tribes that are scattered to the four corners of the earth through captivity. The children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, otherwise known as Ados. Greetings to you. Greetings also to those who are not of the 12 tribes of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and not of the Ados, but would like to worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as the only true God, and be joined into or grafted into the olive tree, which is the chosen people of Israel. Greetings. Greetings also to those who are not with any religion, but want to see an end of corruption and death and violence on the earth. Greetings. Greetings also to those in the chat. Antonio, greetings to you. Greetings also and blessings, double honor to the people who risk their lives in healthcare field in the midst of these diseases to help save the lives of others. Greetings to you and double blessing and honor upon you. Greetings, Mark. So the Bible, the word of the Most High, one of the things that makes it different and special above all other books of the planet is the prophetic utterance. Its ability to tell us what's about to happen. That's one of the things that makes it special. Aside from the wisdom and the knowledge and the instruction and the righteousness, it's its ability to tell us what's about to happen, especially in our day. Again, the Bible, especially prophecy, covers 3 time periods: what has already happened, what is happening right now, and what's about to happen. Okay? The other day, I was watching something with my wife, and it was on I think it was on Netflix. Anyway, it was about the bombing at the '96 Olympics in Atlanta. There was bombing, if you recall. Some of you are young enough or old enough, I should say, to recall that. And there was a series of bombings that happened at that time. And one of the bombs was set up such that the bombs went off 35 minutes apart. Okay. And at the beginning, when that happened, the investigators thought that the bomber mistimed the bombs, and somehow there was a malfunction that caused them to go off 35 minutes apart. But what they realized when they investigated, they realized it was a trap. The trap was the first bomb was going to go off, and it wasn't going to be like the terrible, powerful one, but it's going to be big enough to cause all of the police and the EMT people and the first responders to come to the site of that bomb. And the second one was timed that 35 minutes later, which is about the time it would take for all of those people to arrive and be there and set up. The second, more powerful bomb would go off and kill a bunch of them. So that the first bomb was part of a trap to draw the people out that the bomber wanted to kill, so that the second bomb would kill them. What happened at that time, though? Somebody that was normally not going to be there at that spot parked right where the second bomb was, put his car there, not knowing there was a bomb there, and went in. He was there as a methadone clinic, parked there and walked to the clinic. And when the second bomb went off, of course, it destroyed his car. But because it caused the first bomb to go off, and then have the second bomb go off just as everybody arrived there to kill the most people that the bomber wanted to kill. So it was a trap. Now, the principle of that trap is being laid now. And in the next, let's say 12 months to 4 years, you're going to see that trap spring. I'll tell you in a few minutes why. But before we do, I want to say this too. The 2 entities that we are always talking about that are fighting in this spiritual war that we are in, that all of us are in, whether we realize it or not, The two entities is Father Yah, who has sent out his general as his representative, Messiah. And the other side is Asatan, okay, who has a third of angels that have fallen. Now, on the Father's side, they're always of one accord. Why? Because everyone on the Father's side is in love with his character of righteousness. Everybody on the Father's side seeks to give the Father glory by obedience in that character of righteousness. That starts in the third heaven with Messiah, who always, the Bible says, did always those things that pleased his Father. Okay? And it goes from him to the angels that have not fallen, the 2/3, who are ministering spirits that do the bidding of the Father constantly because of their love for his righteousness and his character of righteousness. And from there, it goes to the human agents who are also in love with the Father's character of perfect righteousness and have experienced it in their salvation. Okay, and I want to look at Psalm 85, part of Psalm 85 for this, just to explain how this works on the human agent. Notice again, Psalm 85. I'm going to start at verse 7 of Psalm 85. I'm going to start at verse 7 of Psalm 85. Notice what it says. Psalm 85, beginning at verse 7. I'm going to go down to verse 13. That's that's the end of the psalm, okay? So, show us thy mercy, O Yahweh, and grant us thy salvation. I will hear what Most High Yahweh will speak, for he will speak peace unto his people and to his saints, but let them not turn again to folly. Surely his salvation is nigh them that fear him, that glory may dwell in our land. Mercy and truth are met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven. Yea, Yahweh shall give that which is good, and our land shall yield her increase. Righteousness shall go before him, and shall set us in the way of his steps. That's so powerful and deep. I love this. So the Psalms is just powerful and deep. But what it's saying here, the righteousness of the Father relates to the human agent as mercy and truth and peace. You see, there's a balance. Why? Because none of us deserve the perfection of righteousness that the Father gives us. None of us deserve it. Okay? His intent is that perfection of righteousness shall be shown through his chosen people, the nation of Israel that is now scattered into the four corners of the earth, that his perfect righteousness will be shown first in them. And it makes sense because that's why we have been the most beaten down people on the planet. The black male is public enemy number one in every developed nation. Okay? Public enemy number one. And so through him, the most hated one, Father intends to show the earth his righteousness. And it's an act of mercy. Nobody deserves it. And it gives us peace. Okay? It gives us a calmness and a peace to deal on this war that we're in. Okay? And so in that way, and then of course, through the Israelite servants to the Gentiles also, this grace is given, this righteousness and truth is given, and it's given to people who have a love for the Father's character of perfect righteousness and truth. You see, the Christians talk about love, but it's a weak, flowery, almost effeminate thing. They've changed it. The true love is a love for righteousness and truth. You remember what the word says, that he's going to send strong delusion that the people should believe a lie who had not a love for the truth. Okay? So those of us that understand that the Father's character is of truth and righteousness, we don't believe Asatan's lies that the Father's a liar. We don't believe that. And we trust in the Father's righteousness that he gives us as a gift to cover our imperfection, to cover our sin, and to cause us to be molded. Look, Ephesians chapter 2. Again, I like to quote some of these things that the Christians like to have quote, so we can get the whole thing in context and understand what it's really saying. Part of the deception is to quote half verses or parts of verses and then make doctrines out of them. That's part of deception, right? But let's look at the truth now. Ephesians chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 1, and I'm going to go through from verse 1 down to verse 10. Okay, watch. And you hath he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins. He's talking now to Ephesian Gentiles that are converted into the olive tree of the nation of Israel. Don't get it twisted. He's not talking to no Christians that worship white Jesus and crosses. No. He's talking to Gentiles that have been converted through the Hebrew Messiah into the nation of Israel. That he said, upon this rock, I'm going to build my church, church being nation, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So here's this Hebrew, the apostle Shaul of the tribe of Benjamin. He's writing a letter to these converts in Ephesus. Okay, let me read it again. And you hath he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience, among whom also we all had our conversation in times past, in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, even as others. But Yah, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in trespasses and sins. Even when we were dead in sins, hath quickened us together with Messiah. By grace ye are saved, and hath raised us up together and made us sit together in heavenly places in Messiah, Yahushua, who in ages to come he might show the exceeding riches of his grace in his kindness toward us through Messiah, Yahushua. For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of Yah, not of works, lest any man should boast. And watch verse 10. For we are his workmanship. His, that is the Father's workmanship, created in Messiah, Yahushua, unto good works, which Yah hath before ordained that we should walk in them. What does all that mean? Father grants us perfect righteousness in the spirit. That's the Holy Ghost. That's the set apart spirit. That's the spirit of truth that he gives us through Messiah. When we confess our sins and we are repentant, he gives us that. It covers us like a coat, covers us in all our ugliness and filth. Okay. Now we get baptized in the water as a sign of being cleansed from all that, but he covers us anyway because there's still work to do. He covers us in that coat, right? And then we, what the Bible calls it, we grow in grace. What does that mean? He starts to change us from within with his spirit. Starts to change us from within. Yeah, we make some mistakes. Yeah, we slip and fall. We act a fool sometimes, but then we come back in repentance because we love what? We love the Father's righteousness. We love the Father's truth. We come back to him. And every time he keeps causing us to grow. That's called growth in grace. And I like to put it this way, when the Bible shows us in Zechariah 3, also Isaiah chapter 62, but when it shows us he puts on the coat of righteousness, it's too big for us. It's like us wearing, a coat for somebody that's 10 times as big as the arms are too long and coat is long and it's big on us, right? But then we grow in the grace of righteousness. We grow in the spirit. And start to overcome. That's why 7 times in the 7 churches, it says to he that overcometh. We start to overcome through that power. Okay, we start to overcome stuff that used to get us before. We start to overcome. All right. And then the day is going to come when Father's going to look down from his throne And he's gonna ask his son, son, they ready? He gonna say, son's gonna say, Father, they ready. And then the Spirit will come to us and say, okay, you were borrowing my coat, but look, you've grown up into it. Keep the coat now. It's yours forever. That's when righteousness is granted to us and it becomes part of us permanently. Okay, our character permanently changed. That's through grace and mercy. All right, can't force it like some fanatics do, try to force everybody to obey at their will, at their time, in their pace. No, it's something that happens as like seasons change, as sun rises and sets. It's a natural occurrence that happens through grace and mercy. Causes us to become one with the third heaven. Causes us to become one with the angels, one with Messiah, one with the Father. Okay, and so we join on that side of the war as one. Okay, people wonder, and it's a sad situation when you see people hating each other, killing each other, right? Like I like to mention Malcolm X. Like the day Malcolm X was killed at the Audubon Ballroom in Harlem, New York, he knew people was trying to murder him. He knew people were going to kill him. He didn't know exactly when and where it was going to happen, but he knew it was going to happen. He knew. In fact, Mike Wallace, Ashkenazi, a reporter, asked him, do you think your life is in danger? And he said, I'm a dead man already. He said, I already know that. Okay. He said, I already know that. So he knew he was going to die. Okay. And the day at the Audubon, he had people that loved him saying to him, Malcolm, you know, we need to check everybody at the door. We need to have armed guards around you. And he said, no, I'm not going to have any armed guards. No, I don't want you checking black people. I don't want black people hating each other. I don't want black people distrusting each other, even though he knew they were going to kill him. And of course, they did kill him. Okay. But it's hard for us to be united. You know, all of this time, people talk about black on black crime. It's true. We do hate each other. And we talked about Judas when we talked last week in the book of Revelation about Pergamos. We talked about Judas. Judas was a brother. It's like Messiah was black. Judas was a brother. Judas was a brother. And he betrayed another brother. I mean, it goes all the way back to Joseph. Joseph was sold into slavery to Egyptians by his brother. Okay. His brothers did that. All right. So that hatred, that jealousy, that comes from a lack of the Father's righteousness. Because when you have the Father's righteousness, it almost, it really doesn't matter what color, culture, parentage the other person comes from. If both of y'all love the Father's righteousness, you're going to be brothers because it's the same spirit. Okay. But it is different on the other side. It is different on the side of Asatan. Oh, they're united in their hatred of righteousness. Yes, they are. But they have other agendas. You see, on the Father's side, the agenda of every person on the Father's side, whether they be Messiah or angel or human person, is the Father's glory. That's the agenda. It's the Father's glory. Okay, the agenda is to wear righteousness so that we can be obedient to the covenant with the Father. And that's why we are all united in that. All of us understanding none of us deserve such grace. All of us experiencing it, though, as brethren. Okay, but on the other side, they're united in their hatred of the Father's righteousness. But everybody got an agenda that's for self. Everybody going for self. And that principle tells us that if left to themselves, they would destroy each other off the earth. They would. If left to themselves. All of these evil empires that's rise up all over the place, all of these evil, corrupt governments and these evil, corrupt government officials and these heartless sons of guns that will hurt you to get theirs, if left to themselves, at the end of the day, they would destroy each other off the earth. That is why you see when the 144,000 are being sealed, the angel's rising up with the seal in his hand in Revelation chapter 7, and he's telling angels, hold the winds. That's why Messiah said, if it wasn't for the Father, no flesh would be saved. What do you mean by that? Because they would destroy themselves off the earth many times over. It would have happened many times over. Okay? But Father is the daddy, and he's going to do the spanking so that all know who he is. But I mentioned that to say they really hate each other. Not just black on black crime. White people hate each other too. And I'm sure some of you Caucasians can testify. Y'all hate each other. Okay? Y'all hate each other. And that hatred and division is all through Satan's kingdom. Like I said, they only unite when it comes to their hatred of righteousness, when it comes to their hatred of truth. They're united in that. Okay? But they got different agendas. And the Bible shows us that in a couple of areas. So let's look at Revelation 13. Like again, we're in Revelation and we're going to go to 13 quite a bit during the course of our study of Revelation. But we know in Revelation 13, just to give you a synopsis, the beast that's being mentioned in the beginning is the Catholic Church and the papacy and the government institutions that it controls, which is all of them, major one. Okay. It's the papacy. It's a religious, political organization that's run by Asatan. That's the first beast we're going to read about. The second beast we're going to read about is Revelation 13, verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. This is the false prophet, the government religious system of the United States of America. That's what this is. Looks like a lamb. That means it pretends to be something that represents Messiah, but it has misrepresenting Messiah. Because, all the way through, like it's misrepresenting his character, it's misrepresenting his law, it's misrepresenting his father, it's misrepresenting his color. Like in every way, they misrepresent Messiah. Okay, and they call him, but they're claiming through Christianity to represent him. This is supposed to be a Christian nation. Bible calls it the false prophet. But inside, what it really is, a dragon. I'm not making that up. It says it right there, Revelation 13, 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Okay, that's the red, white, and blue, baby. It's a dragon that looks like a lamb. In other words, it's faking. It's faking. Okay, so you got Rome, and you got United States. And you got Rome that controls the United States. Look, again, I like to point this out to those that don't understand what I'm saying. Okay, in the United States of America, laws are made by Congress, right? The House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate make the laws. And when they create a law, the president signs it and it becomes an official law. That's how it works here. So the House of Representatives vote on a measure to make a law. Once the law is made, they send it to the Senate. And the Senate has to vote, and the majority of the senators, being 100, vote on this law and say, okay, we agree with this law. And then they send that law to the president, and the president signs the law. Okay? But the exercise of that law, the application of that law is done by judges. Judges apply the law. Okay? And they apply it based on how they interpret it. So that the most powerful people in the United States are judges. Because they apply the laws, how they interpret it. And I like to point out again, the most powerful court in the United States is the Supreme Court. There are 9 judges that have appointees that are appointed for life. on the Supreme Court. They're appointed for life. 7 of them, 7 out of 9, are Roman Catholic. 2 out of the 9 are Ashkenazi Jew. So that they control the application of law in the United States. In the most powerful nation on the planet. All of them have learned canon law. Canon law comes from Rome. That's why you see them. Go ahead and look at their background. Look at their background. They come from law schools like Georgetown, Gonzaga, Villanova, St. John. What does that sound like? Loyola? What does that sound like? Where are they coming from? That's canon law that come from Rome. Okay? So that's where they learn their stuff. Notre Dame, the last one, Amy Comey Barrett, Notre Dame. Okay? I'm trying to tell you, all right? Or should I say the words trying to show us? Okay. So the agenda that Rome has foisted on the United States without anybody paying attention, the word is showing us now, but people are not looking at the word. But is that they causing everybody to argue about conservative and liberal while they stacking the court with their people. Okay, and part of Donald Trump's purpose was to do that, was to stack the court with the people Rome wanted. They gave him a list, and all of those judges on the list they gave him would fit their purpose. He just could choose whichever one he wanted, and he decided what he wanted. All right, I want this one. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Don't matter. All of them on the list were going to be from the same people. Okay, don't matter. All right. Same with Obama. Same with Bush. Same with Clinton. Same with Bush. Same with Reagan. Same with Carter. Same with Ford. Same with Nixon, and so on and so forth. Don't matter. Okay. So you have the dragon, the beast, and you have the false prophet. Now, let's take a little deeper dive, because like I told you, they hate each other. Yeah, they don't like each other. And let me show you the trap that's coming very quickly that's going to eliminate a lot of dissension. Let me show you. First we understand, let's go to Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2. I should correct myself. I'm not going to show you nothing. The word of the Most High is going to show all of us. Daniel chapter 2, because I can't take no credit for what the Bible says. I didn't write the Bible. I didn't interpret the Bible. The Most High's servants wrote this word. Israelites wrote this stuff. And an Englishman interpreted it for us to read in English. Okay? But the words, 4,000 years old, come from Hebrew prophets. So now, Daniel chapter 2, we know there was a statue. Nebuchadnezzar had a dream of a statue, right? And it had different metals in it. Head gold, chest silver, stomach bronze, legs iron, feet. We're in the feet right now. Feet, iron and clay. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Daniel chapter 2. Going to begin at verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. But they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. What is that? Well, The iron is Rome. Talk about that's Rome. So what's the clay? You know, the clay is the false prophet. And the Bible says about the Israelites in Isaiah 64, it said, Most High, thou art the potter, and we are the clay. But this is not the Most High's people. These are the counterfeit. This is the false prophet. So how is it that they don't like each other? I mean, let's take a look in Daniel chapter 11. Daniel chapter 11, talking about the establishment of the Christian church, starting with the Catholic Church. Daniel chapter 11, going to start at verse 36. And the king, talking about the Pope, the office, the papacy, shall do according to his will. And he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every God, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his father, nor the desire of women, nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate he shall honor the God of forces, a God whom his fathers knew not, shall he honor with gold and silver and precious stones and pleasant things. That is the institution of the Christian church. That's the God that they honor. It's an institution, it's 501c3 corporation. It's the Christian church. And all of the other churches that are, baby whores, same after their mother. Okay, same thing. Thus shall he do in most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. Through the orders of the Catholic Church, the various institutions, the Knights of Malta, the Knights of Columbus, okay, especially the Jesuit order. You got the Dominicans also, several orders, but especially the Jesuit order. They have infiltrated all the other churches so that they control every organized religion, okay? They control. And so they have them. So you might ask the question, why am I saying they hate each other? Watch now. Let's take a little history lesson. Because again, people like to ignore history in the United States, especially the Caucasian people, because it doesn't treat them very well. When you start looking at the history of how they slaughtered all them Indians, went down in Australia and slaughtered all them Aboriginals, when they done took us as necks and slaves and, raped and did all whatever they want to do to us, tar and feather us and cut our privates out. History is not really good for them. So they don't like to look at it. But let's talk about history for a second. Before the Indians got slaughtered and they was over here in their teepees and their nations and their tribes, right? You had some people that wanted to leave Europe, especially England. They wanted to leave for a lot of reasons, but two main reasons, I think we can agree. They did not like a pope ruling over them. They did not like that. Number one. Number two, they did not like a king ruling over them. So they started getting on ships and going to what they called the New World. They called it the New World because they hadn't been there. Of course, Indians, it wasn't new to them. They've been there. But when they came to these shores, they started taking over, right? I mean, we know the story. They started taking land, killing, raping, pillaging, taking over, okay? Establishing themselves. So they established a government that was not under the control of any pope. And they established a government that was not under control of a king. It was going to be a checks and balances eventually, as we have now. You have the House, you got the Senate, you got the president. Different checks and balances, okay? That was what they eventually established in the United States of America, right? Now, when they came over here, these pilgrims, they were worshiping white Jesus. By now, it was an established white Jesus. And they really pushed that when they got here and found Indians and people of color here, the white thing. They started really pushing it, okay? Pope had already made pictures now of his son, Caesar Borgia, as Jesus. And that was the picture that was already there when they came. Okay, so they had the makings and the beginnings here in America of what we now call white supremacy. And let me explain. Some people from other countries have contacted me not understanding what white supremacy is, thinking that I'm just saying white people are superior. You don't know what you're talking about. We're talking about a Eurocentric culture and established culture and government that was developed by the Caucasian man for him, for his benefit, at the not the benefit of anybody else, for his benefit. That's what we call white supremacy. And they have the law that they created on their side to benefit them. You see, the laws were never created to have a former slave equal with them. It was never that. It was for them to remain superior. That's why we get white supremacy from. It's not that they actually are superior. It was the system that has been set up to make sure that they remain superior. Economically, politically, religiously, in every other way you can name. Okay? That's white supremacy. So now, they come here, establish themselves up, right? They end up having a civil war, right? You know, civil war, North against the South. No matter what they tell you, it was about slavery. Okay, North against the South. South said we can own these people and we can keep making money on them. North said, no, you can't, and you won't. And it was dividing the nation. And Abraham Lincoln was having no problem with slavery. He just did not want the Union divided like that. So the southern part decided to make themselves Confederate, that is, rebellion against the North, against the Union, in order that they could profit. And it was not, see, it wasn't the poor Caucasians in the South didn't own no slaves. It's always rich people deceiving poor people into doing their will. And that's what they did. Okay, so you had the Confederate rebels against the Northern Union, right? Now, of course, we know the history. The Union won, even though they still run around with them Confederate flags, not understand they lost the war, but that's another point. But the Union won. Okay. After that, the nation was destroyed, especially the South, Atlanta, New Orleans, major Charlotte, North Carolina, South Carolina. They were destroyed. These places were flat and level. Richmond, dogged. And so you had a period called Reconstruction. But at this time, during Reconstruction, a lot of African Americans, ADOS, were now like gaining political power. They were running for office. They were winning seats in the House and Senate, both in the state level and the federal level during Reconstruction. So as a result of that, there were some Caucasians that didn't like that. They didn't like that for several reasons. Number one, they used to own these people. And by virtue, I mean, it's just human. I'm not trying to take up for the Klan. Don't get me wrong. But I just want to tell you, think of it commonsensical. You have these people that you brought over here enslaved, in chains, and you have done things to them, and you have used them for 200 plus years, right? And you gotten rich. A lot of y'all got rich off of it. Well, just as human beings, what do you think would happen if those people ever got loose from those chains and got economically and politically equal with you? What is your fear? The natural fear would be that they're going to rise up, organize, and destroy you back. That's the natural fear. Okay? Any human being would think like that. Not special on black people or white people. It's just the way it is. So in order to prevent that, in order to keep the thumb on them, the Klan came into existence. Okay? They wanted to make sure that they were protectors of what they call the white man's country and the white race. So they wanted to make sure they kept the black man under their thumb by violence, by threat, by whatever means necessary. Okay? As part of that, though, they also did not want Catholicism to come into the United States. They were against Catholics. People don't know that. They were with the original people that came here. They were with that theory of white supremacy, no pope and no king. They also didn't trust Ashkenazi Jews. Why? Because they just happen to have a habit of infiltrating also and taking over financial institutions and making people broke. So the Klan had a policy against Ashkenazi Jews, against blacks, and against Catholics. And so the white supremacist movements that you now see that are skinheads, that are white nationalists, that are alt-right, they come from the same background, even though they've also been infiltrated. They come from the same background. Except now, the difference is, brethren, Rome controls the federal government. I already talked to you about the Supreme Court, but it controls the whole federal government. It controls all the state governments. Okay? So now what's going on? So now when you're seeing all of these uprisings and riots of Trump supporters, the honest truth is most of those people are white racists, are supremacists. Most of them are. I don't care what they tell you. And they are concerned with the same principles. The overthrow of their principles of white superiority from Black people, now also Spanish people, anybody that's brown. And of course, they don't like Ashkenazi Jews, and they still don't like the Catholic Church. It's very interesting because one of their leaders is a Roman Catholic. See Satan casting out Satan. So what's the trap? So y'all ever heard of a man named Alex Jones? You might have heard of Alex Jones. He's a man from Texas. And he's been running around for more than 25 years protesting anything against the government. But he got a bullhorn, he got a television station, he got all kind of books that he writes, all kind of videos he does, and he calls himself a patriot. And he follows the same principles. The only thing about Alex Jones, though, he never speaks against the Catholic Church. He's actually a Catholic agent. Okay? So what is his purpose? He shows up at places and has big rallies of protests. What is he doing? And what is Trump doing? And Trump don't even realize what he's doing. Really, he doesn't. But he's being used. Okay, we already talked about the judges, but this is another part. So he's being used. They're both being used to bring out of the darkness, out of the corners, all of these people that are opposing Rome, that are opposing the government that Rome now controls. They're bringing them out. Okay, and they're coming out with their guns. You see them coming out with their guns. The other day, they had a plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan. And you know why they're being brought out? This government that we're here, going to steamroll all of those people. Going to kill them. Going to destroy them. Because they represent the last opposition as far as on a government political level to what Rome is trying to do here. They represent the last opposition. It's ironic, isn't it? The people that were brought forth out of hatred are going to be destroyed. and they're white supremacists just like Rome is. But you see, Rome is not as worried about the white supremacist part. You know why? Because they control this. They got their masters under control right here in the mind. They're masters at mind control. So are they major agents. And so they're not worried about that. They can get Catholics in Africa to worship white Jesus. They're not worried about that. But they want everything under their control, and they don't want no opposition from nobody. And so your people that are the Trump supporters that are in the streets with their guns, if they keep that up, they're going to fall into a trap. Trump was the first bomb. The U.S. government, right? Matter of fact, if you look at the civil rights movement, a lot of times they call out who? The National Guard. And the National Guard sometimes got violent against the people that were protesting the people that were civil rights. So like in Philadelphia, in Mississippi, University, Ole Miss, them National Guards came down there and they hurt their own people, their own cousins, to protect that black man because the government called it. Barnett was the governor, and Kennedy told him, "You're going to stop this." And Barnett was trying to save face, but Kennedy called them National Guards. Same thing in Alabama. Same thing when they start acting fool in other places. He called the National Guard. They steamrolled. Okay, they'll do it. They've done it already to many people. So now the people that are protesting, the skinheads, your alt-right, you see, the skinheads and alt-right that are with Rome, they work for the police. They're police officers. But the ones that are not police officers, that are just out here acting foul and wild, they're going to have a problem by their own cousins. They're going to get destroyed. The ones out here marching with Alex Jones with his bullhorn, Alex Jones disappeared, they're going to get steamrolled because that's their function. The control opposition brings out these people so that the government can see who you are and hurt you and put you down. Rome's not having it. See, it's going to come to the point, and this is the point where it's going to come to the point. There's only going to be two groups. A small group of 144,000 with everybody that's with the Father's righteousness and everybody else. Anybody that's on Rome's side and acting the fool, acting rebellious, see, they don't have the Father's protection. 144,000 got the Father's protection. If the Father surrounds you with angels, there's no way anybody could do anything to you that he don't want to happen. There's no way. I don't care how many people they have. But if you going out like these protesters, these Trump protesters, or these skinheads and all these people, they just now know who you are. And even though they're your cousin, they're going to kill you. That's what they're going to do. You're going to see it. They're going to do it. Because all of this is designed to bring the rats out, bring them out in the open so they can see who they are. Once they're out in the open, like again, I was watching a series, and again, there was this killer, serial killer. He was killing cops, and he was a former Green Beret. It wasn't a true story, but it was this former Green Beret, and he was killing cops, right? So this cop was coming out of a projects after doing her patrol. She was a female cop. He walked up to her and shot her. He was an expert marksman, but he shot her and didn't kill her. She fell. She called for backup. All the police came. And one of them said, this guy's an expert marksman. Why didn't he kill this girl? And then he realized, dude called them all out there, and dude was there waiting for him, and they were just like fish in the barrel. Now he's killing them because he got them all out there, just like the dude, the bombing in Atlanta. Same thing. All of these people, Alex Jones, Donald Trump, that alt-right dude, Steve Bannon, they are rallying these folks to come out. All of the ones that's going to rebel against the government. They're rallying them to come out there so the government can see who they are and they can steamroll. Then there'll be no more opposition from them. Everybody's going to be obedient. Like I said, you're going to have two sides. The 144,000 and those with them is not, the 144,000 is a literal number, but that's not the only people. I like it like this. There were 12 apostles, a literal 12, but there were more disciples than just 12, right? There were lots of disciples, but there were only 12 apostles. Same thing with the 144,000. There's 144,000 Israelite men that'll be teachers. But then there's going to be people with them that hear the message, right? They're not teachers of the air. They can be teaching somebody. And people are going to hear the message. It's not going to be the majority by any means, right? But it's going to still be a pretty good amount of people. And that's what you're going to have on the earth, the two sides that are going to be drawn. A small side, a remnant that belong to the Most High, and a remnant and a majority that belong to Asatan, that he would have steamrolled any opposition to his to his kingdom. And the next group that's going to get steamrolled is these people that are out here protesting, carrying guns and such. They're going to get, and especially with they carrying the guns. Y'all remember Waco? They did that in Waco. You know, David Koresh, that wasn't his real name. I forgot his real name, but he called his name David Koresh. They had guns. They had guns in Waco. And that gave the ATF and the U.S. government all the excuse they needed. They came in there first, you know what they did? They put poisonous gas in the people's houses, killed like dozens of little kids. They had little kids in there. They found the little kids' bodies all twisted up from the poisonous gas that the government put in there. Then after they did that, they came in there with flamethrowers from tanks And then they came in there with guns from helicopters. You see people's bodies all over the place there in Waco because they had guns that gave them the excuse. You're going to see that again. It's going to happen soon. I wouldn't be surprised if during Biden's administration it happens. Or what's going to be the Kamala Harris administration, because Biden ain't even going to last 4 years in his office. I can tell you right now, that boy ain't going to be there 4 years. Kamala Harris is going to be the president eventually. I mean, y'all know this dude don't even know what day it is half the time. So he's not going to be in there 4 years. He they're already covering for him. He can't hardly speak. So Kamala Harris is set up to be the president. And she going to be Jezebel. She going to put it on. I'm trying to tell you right now. I don't know why I'm telling you this. It's not like I should care about those people, but that's what's coming. That's what's coming. I got to do what the Most High tells me to do. Maybe among those people, somebody will wake up. I don't know. But I'm telling you, there ain't going to be no opposition for long. Not for long. It's going to be coming to an end. Okay? The Black Lives Matter thing, too. But they don't carry no guns, see? They don't get hurt, but that's always the case. But I'm talking about these rednecks that carry these guns all over the place and think they're going to fight the government, call themselves patriots. They're getting ready to, they're going to get stumped, man. They're going to get stumped, okay? Because the trap is being laid. Alex Jones been laying it for 25 years. I used to get some of his videos, and I used to wonder, what exactly is he going to do? Like, what exactly is the point, right? I mean, he always shows up to this place with a bullhorn. What's that going to do? I always wondered about that. Then I realized what it was about, man. He was about creating a situation where people that's following him will go out in the streets and act stupid. And the government can now see who you are and who their enemy is and who they're going to take care of. And they've been watching for a long time now. Okay, they got all that information. So now it's going to be at some point in this next 4 years, because I'm saying, like I told you, Kamala Harris is going to end up being the president. Joe Biden ain't going to last. Like I said, he have got Alzheimer's now, okay? So she going to be running this mess, and eventually she going to be the president. So, and she's going to be rough, man. Don't let that brown skin fool you. She don't like us either. I'm trying to tell you. She's sold to the highest bidder. And she going to do that business, man. Okay? She going to do that business. Okay? Oh, yes. Listen, Judases abound. We in the last days, man. Judases abound. Okay? That's going to be the case all the way to the Messiah's kingdom. Judas abounds. That's another reason why we want to make sure we have Father's Spirit on us. We can discern it. But it's not even about, like, I'm not telling y'all to try to seek out who the Judases are. They'll be obviously evident. No, the key thing, again, is to make sure that I'm not Judas. To be humble enough to understand, I could become Judas. You could become Judas. Right? So you got to be understanding that so that you are watchful over your own soul. You don't want to be Judas. You remember the night Messiah told the disciples, when you going to betray me? Remember what happened after that? Like, while it was still in the room, they each came up to him. Is it me? Because they didn't know. They didn't trust. They said, is it me? Is it me, Master? And then John, leaning on the Messiah, said, who is it? The Messiah said, when I dip my bread in this dish, the man who dipped his bread with me, he's the one. And he dipped bread dish, and Judas dipped his bread in the dish. That's who it was. But all of them asked, is it me? That's what you and I need to ask. Is it me? Because you know what? Judas is going to exist. And just like Messiah said, it'd be better for them if they hadn't been born. What's going to come in the judgment on them. It'd be better for them if they hadn't been born. All the sellout Judases, it'd be better if they hadn't been born. Just like he said about Judas, it'd be better for that man if he hadn't been born. Okay? So we have to make sure. Don't worry about finding out who it is. They'll make themselves manifest. Like that fool that coon that I forgot his name, Gifted Hands coon that used to be the surgeon that Trump put in charge of HUD. And the Caucasian woman asked him about Oreo, and Oreo and HUD is other real estate owned. They call it Oreo, other real estate owned. Okay, that's part of the function of the Department of Urban Development. Okay, because they have other real estate owned. That's where they're trying to get it to people that can't afford houses. She asked him about Oreo, and he thought she was talking about a cookie that's cool. Okay, but they're gonna be made manifest. You ain't got to worry about that. You're gonna see it. Okay, you're gonna see it. They'll be made manifest. Don't worry about that. Just make sure it's not you and it's not me. That's all. Just make sure it's not us. That's gonna be the case. But the trap has been laid. Okay, the trap's been laid. Okay, and so it's about to come off. I'm just telling you, it's about to come off, man. It's gonna come off soon. You're gonna see it. It's not gonna be pretty. And even though they done messed with us, and I can't say I'd be crying over it, but at the same time, it's still wicked, isn't it? They hate each other. They hate each other. Y'all need to remember that. Satan's side, they hate each other. Okay? They hate righteousness, but they hate each other too. Those of us in love with the Father's righteousness, we love each other. When Messiah said you should love each other, it can't just happen because we want it to happen. It happens because we love the Father's righteousness, because we love his truth, because we want to bring him glory and honor through obedience to his covenant. That's what joins us together. That's what joins us together. No matter what color we are. See, you can't, I always tell y'all, you can't determine who your parents are. You can't determine where you're born. That's not in your control. I know some of us, like if you like me, you got family members, you said, "Dag, man," but you can't determine who your family is. You understand what I'm saying? You can't control that. So he has chosen the Ados. He has chosen him as the Israelite. But all the people that love righteousness is what the Most High wants. All the people that love his righteousness and grace, all the people that understand truth and love it, that's who he wants. Yes, to the Hebrew first, but also to the Greek. I mean, everybody. Okay? So I'm just saying, the trap is laid. You're about to see some people get crushed. Don't be surprised, because that's what's coming. May the Most High bless you, that you don't become Judas. And may he bless me. Pray for me that I don't become Judas. Shalom.